Yo, what is up, everyone? It is that time once again. It is 8 p.m. in the UK, midday PST, 2 p.m. EST. It is Friday. It is time for episode 4 of the Slot 1 Super Podcast. So I'll be the main host this week, is your boy, the Masked Ningen. Obviously, to my right on the screen, I guess, is our boy Minato. How's it going?
Oh, I'm muting my mic back. I'm doing
good. Good start, boys. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Great episode. I hate the number 4, by the way. Just saying. So, we're cooking. Shout out to the boy Misa.
Misa. Oh, yeah, right. I forgot about the number 4 thing. I was like, what are you talking about?
Is that a JoJo reference?
Is that a JoJo?
And then, of course, next to him on the far right, we have our boy Dokkan Assets, otherwise known as Theo. How's it going, my dude?
Good. I currently look like a Dokkan card art right now. I don't know why my camera quality is being so stinky, and I'm crying for some reason. I don't know why. But
we need that HD arts guy to come in out of nowhere and comment and get you in HD.
That's right. He needs to make the HD, bro. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. All right, well, this is episode 4 of the Slot 1 Super Podcast. Worldwide Part 3 begins. Omatsu hates Goku Black. So we've got a ton of stuff to talk about. New EZA, rumors. Well, I say rumors. It was basically spoiled in the data download, but of an upcoming EZA. New events, new units, tons of stuff has come out today. So another great day for the podcast when a whole bunch of stuff has come out and we've got tons of stuff to talk about. Yep. So before we jump into that, I just want to give you guys a bit of a reminder. If you want to help to support the podcast, if you have any questions, any comments, any shout outs, anything like that, all donations and super chats will be read out at the end of the episode. So if you have anything like that you want read out or any questions you want answered and you want to help support us so we can keep this show on the road, then those will all be greatly appreciated and read out at the end of the show. So we are going to get straight away into the first section here, which is to talk about some of the new events that have come out today. And we're going to start off with the 5th and final stage of the Dismal Future Red Zone, which is against the Fusion Zamasu. Definitely was an interesting one. I had a bit of fun doing it on stream today. It took me all 5 attempts because, as usual, I tried to no item it the first few times. But Minato, let's start off with you. How did you find stage 5 against Fusion Zamasu? Is it the new hardest boss in the game, or how was it for you?
Well, first off, it took you 5 attempts. Well, you're such a loser.
I know, right?
It took me 3.
I know. Ooh.
God, you suck.
Damn.
Actually, I think it took me 4, but regardless.
Past my prime.
It was a difficult event. It's because it's a lot of it was like, kind of like a surprise factor. You go in, you see that AoE attack, you're like, oh, that's kind of scary. And then it's like, oh, he's basically 500k AoE attack on the first turn.
Yep.
Which is just crazy. And it just makes it so that a lot of these units that cannot build up or need to super attack to like build up their stats, like even like Ma Junior, AGL Zamasu, we have the 5th year anniversary Blue Fusions, right? All these units that need to attack and build up, like Gamma 2 even, they get kind of frauded out and they take like a 400k normal because Omatsu just instantly hits you with that AoE unless you get lucky and the AoE's near the end. So it can be very annoying. And then the second phase just hits hard. That's really it. It's not really even a gimmick. It's just that he hits so hard, right? Because he raises his attack for the turn. He already hits for 700k normals. Yeah. Then he raises his attack and he hits for 900k normals. Oh my! And then his super attack hits for like 1.9 million plus or something like that, almost 2 million damage.
I think isn't it with the 30% added? It's like 2 point something, which is ridiculous. Because I think it's like 1.75 before the 30% buff.
Yeah, so but how it works is it doesn't actually like make it a pure buff. Just
okay,
it's math, Dokkan math. Look, believe me, it's not as high as a pure 30%, right?
Okay,
I'm not even gonna get into it because I don't know the exact math for it yet.
Fair enough.
But yeah, that's it. And he just could be very devastating to a lot of these units that need to build up because he's also a shorter fight, right? Yep. Like Proton in chat said, it's added to the super attack multiplier, right? So since he's already, I'm not even going to explain it. Okay, anyways, I just think he's very difficult. I would say you could say he's the hardest fight in the game, just because he's kind of like a slightly weaker Omega, just turn one, and then the second phase just hits just so hard. So it can be a little dangerous. And one thing to keep in mind is he has this interesting mechanic that we've seen in what's it called? What is it? Burst mode.
Burst
Where
mode,
you know
yeah.
how yeah, you do like 150,000 damage or less, and it actually just turns down to 0 damage. Well, for this stage, what happens if you do less than 1.5 million damage to the boss in a single attack, then you do 0 damage, right? So a lot of these characters that maybe just do a bunch of additional normals and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
Those normals will not chip damage, they'll do 0 damage. Or a unit that does like 3 mil, 3 mil, 3 mil could potentially just do no damage at all compared to one unit does like one big 9 mil attack set, right? So it's kind of like interesting. You have to run like different units. But I think it's a fine stage overall. I would have liked if maybe there was some other potential gimmick to it, but I don't know. I think it's cool. I think it's cool, and yeah, I had fun personally playing it for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. Did you, Theo? Did you say you didn't get a chance to do the new stage, or?
Yeah, unfortunately, I was shout out to the boy Toon Rami. I was editing a video for Toon last night, so I did not have a chance to try new content. I will be on my stream later, but I will say, just one thing that I think is interesting about this is I'm kind of curious that they decided to make the like, I guess unless we are getting a new stage for the EX part, which I don't think there's any indication of that, right?
No.
That it's merged Zamasu and not Funny Goops Zamasu for the end. I thought that was kind of
the final phase is the
the
Goop
final
Zamasu.
phase is
Yeah.
gooey.
Oh, in the fight. Okay, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm
first
surprised
phase
there's
is normal.
My thought is
Gotcha.
there's no infinite Zamasu stage, right?
I mean, they can't. How do they do
have
that?
them. Why would they not
Like,
use it? I don't know.
I mean, I think it could be interesting if they make Infinite Zamasu some sort of like longer fight, kind of like the Cell Max, like Red Zone, maybe even, where it's like it takes a longer time, maybe it's a little stronger than usual at the start, but like you could do a lot of super attacks, and then you could potentially build up some units early on. Still, I don't know. But yeah, there are theories people are circulating around about a part EX, and I'm assuming talk about that later, right? But
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
at
that
least
would be
when it comes
interesting.
to the red zone specifically, obviously we pretty much know that they planned for it to be the final stage, because obviously by finishing it you get the support memory and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Which is
that's
usually when it's the
I
final
mean,
stage.
that's what I
But
was thinking.
sometimes, because we saw with the Sin Shenron event, right? When that first came out, that got
yeah,
like,
true. You
with
get a
the
support memory, don't you,
and
for beating
everything.
them? Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, for the first 7, and then later on,
Yeah,
8
the Mega.
was added.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be the last stage, but
No,
I
that
would
is a good point.
assume it's probably the last one for now,
Yeah.
or else they would
Yeah.
probably hold off, right? But
Yeah, that's what I would think too. I mean, even if they did do Infinite Zamasu, they could do like a try to survive stage or something like that, where
I mean,
maybe
it
you
could
like
just
you
be-
can't kill him.
it doesn't even have to be in the red zone. It could just be his own event.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. It's always so like interesting to me that they don't give like new characters sometimes their own boss, which I'm very thankful that this time they did that with Vegeta Blue and Zamasu and Trunks, because it's like, yes, finally we can fight the new unit. I feel like that was something that was missing from the game for a while, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, yeah.
Well, yeah, speaking of which, we did, of course, get to the 2 new and final stages for the Divine Wrath and Mortal Will. And, of course, one of them is Trunks.
Oh, boy.
We have Fusions of Marsu and the Trunks one. So I'll start off by talking about the Fusions of Marsu one, just because I feel like this is the one that needs the least amount of time to discuss. I don't know if it's just me, but like he doesn't do anything. He doesn't have any mechanics. I mean, I guess he probably does hit reasonably hard, and he has a decent amount of HP. but like
Bro doesn't know.
But like the AGL one, I thought was harder personally.
Let's see.
I don't know what the stats
So
are
he
like,
hits-
but like the AGL one had all the
2.1
healing.
mil damage.
I haven't
mean-
seen that then.
I mean, compared to like some of the big bosses we're getting, like that's it. That's all he does, right? He hits hard, but he doesn't have any other mechanics. So I think the previous Zamasu and Vegito Blue are harder than him. But then we got the Trunks. So
We went backwards.
the Trunks
So
is
I think-
interesting. Go
I
on.
personally think that the Zamasu phase is relatively difficult. He's relatively tanky as well. His super attack just could hit you very hard, and then especially if you consider the Entrusted Will mission, that guy is pretty nasty to deal with, right? So I could see where people would have trouble with Fusion Zamasu. I do think that Vegeta was harder, and I also think that Trunks is harder that you're talking about, though.
Yeah.
Which I guess, I don't know if you want to talk about Trunks or anything, but
Well, I was going to say,
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting that you have that feedback as well, because like I say, I thought that Zamasu probably didn't really need that much discussion, but I guess it is interesting. Obviously, as the stages have gone up, of course, he does have higher stats than like
Bro,
that
just, like,
previous
2
Zamasu,
mil.
but I don't know. Maybe it's just because like the int units are so good or something. Maybe I don't know. It just seemed very very easy. Apart from like because I know you can get caught, but we can say that about any of the hard events. Like
That's true.
if the wrong unit takes a super, they're gonna die. But that happens in like all the other stages apart from the first 4, the really easy ones.
yeah, I guess the thing about that is that you could run mono, like you said, right?
Yeah, it
Compared
just
to
seemed
the
really
Trunks one.
underwhelming
Yeah.
compared to when I just thinking back to like the morning, because it was the morning for me when the content comes out of last week or the week before when we were doing the AGL Zamasu and the STR Vegito Blue. Just going into this Zamasu stage for the first time, it just felt way easier than both of those. But again, obviously, sometimes you can just get like a lucky run or whatever, but didn't seem that difficult to
Yeah.
me. But then we have the Trunks one, and the Trunks one certainly is interesting. So Minato, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Trunks one,
Yeah.
because I think Theo hasn't played that one either. So let him know what he's got in store for him for later.
Yeah, I wanna know. Give me the rundown, Mr. Minato's Flash.
So this Trunks stage is kind of interesting, where it's kind of like the 8th anniversary event, from what I heard. Where you could literally just like you could kill the first phase and the event ends. So you could theoretically run like double Dragon Ball Z Duo unit, like mono physical, and then kill Trunks before he even has a chance to go into his second phase. Which the first phase is in type. Again, he hits pretty hard starting off, 1.7 mil damage. He has a lot of HP. It's definitely possible to like kind of kill that Trunks for sure, but the issue is really once you get to the second phase, which the second phase is kind of just stupid. He hits you for 2.3 million damage.
Wow.
And his normal
Yep.
attacks is hit for 670k normals. And even like his previous like an int phase hits for 580k normals turn 1. Like he's just tough. And again, he kind of is another unit where he's like doesn't really have a gimmick like the Zamasu, but he's 2 typing, so like unlike all the other stages, so you can't run like mono AGL like Vegito or mono ints like Zamasu, because there's an int and physical phase. So you can't just run full like why did you can't run like full physical, right? You're unless you're like are sure you're gonna one shot it, because then when you get to the super physical phase, you probably want STR units for that one, right? So
Yeah.
it's interesting. I think it caught a lot of people off guard. And then there is also the mission where you want to run the full extreme class setup, I think, on this one, where you have to run one type of every extreme class unit, which I could very easily see many
That will
free-to-play
be
players
hard.
struggle with that one, because guess what?
Yeah.
Extreme class sucks. Terrible.
What?
I found
No.
extreme class. Oh no, I'm sorry. I lied. Extreme class is the best team in the game. But I know for sure a lot of people would have difficulty with that mission, and it's really like the stages themselves. Like especially if you're using items, obviously they're not too bad. Like you could just like, yeah, I'm just gonna double these. But it's like when you have to run these missions, that's where things can get a little dicey for sure.
Well, I mean, no, go on.
But the thing is that these guys don't have really gimmicks like
Yeah.
like Ningen said, right? That makes it interesting, like an AoE or dodge disable, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's again like the stage was quite difficult, but for the extreme mission, I did just use items to do it. Why not? It's one of those things where I don't want to get into the whole discussion that was being had earlier today, because it's not obviously all about that, but it's some interesting points from that, which I think apply to these stages specifically. Is I could definitely see free to play or newer players struggling with it for sure, but I feel like these missions for the end game content, they are like the end game content, right? So not everyone is necessarily going to be able to do them straight away. And then when it comes to the missions that are purposely restricting your team building, those are the kind of events where, like, yeah, you just bust out the items, right? If it's forcing you to use an extreme physical unit on Zamasu's team, for which there are not a great amount of options, you just use items to counteract that, right? So
Omatsu and Zamasu, let's go.
well, they're not extreme, so you can't even like they can be decent. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing is they can be decent.
Zamasu.
Yeah, they can be good
forgot
on his
about
team,
that.
but they're not extreme, so you can't use them for that mission.
Tease
Oh,
Zamasu.
you know what this is?
Now, funnily enough,
This is JPW Turles.
yeah, true.
That's true.
But,
That's true.
Funnily enough, I actually did use the physical T Zamasu, and strangely, shockingly, I know, he actually did not sell. He dodged like basically every attack,
Wow.
which is what he's there to do, and obviously provides 50% support. So in those situations where he actually does dodge everything, he was actually kind of great on the team, to be honest, because he's given that support. I had a rotation where the LR Zamasu linked up with, I think, the AGL one, and then physical Zamasu in slot 3 is hitting like 20 million attack on his 18 key super or something. So pretty crazy. But yeah, definitely those missions do make it a lot harder. I think I would say I'd recommend for people that are struggling, obviously you probably want to try and get the first clear of the stage just like any way you can, right? Especially because, as we will always come back to whenever Red Zone is being discussed, apart from the anniversary, I guess, apparently if they do that again, is the limited attempts per day is super annoying.
Have unlimited.
This is for the Red Zone.
I was gonna say at least with this event,
at least this you do get unlimited attempts, right? So if you're having trouble beating it, beat it once with whatever team you want, and then obviously if you can, you then get to try doing the other missions. But like I said before, like I know people want to be able to do everything as soon as stuff comes out, but I feel this is something we have discussed in the past. Like, say you could do like the superclass mission for, I think it's Zamasu has the superclass mission, right? But then you can't do the extreme class mission because you don't have as good extreme units in your box. It's just one of those things that like you will be able to do it at some point in the future, and not being able to do every single mission for the hardest events in the game the day they come out is frustrating for sure, but it's not like the end of the world, right? Now, that being said,
unless you're like
special pose mission from Cell Max, you know, like that mission, took forever for a lot of people to beat.
Unless you're like 4 stones off the final multi before 3+1 and then it runs out.
That would hurt.
See, now that's just pain.
Someone out there is going to experience that.
That's true. That is true. By the way,
Ooh,
about the Mortal Will event, I just wanted to mention, just because it's the title, right? I'm making my public apology on the podcast. I'm sorry for my tweet saying that it basically confirmed Goku Black, because it didn't in fact not confirm Goku Black.
Bro said Goku Black's coming.
I was really happy to see people like really like goof that up though. Like people were really memeing it up that about that being the case. Like people were saying that it was future Gohan Black was what I actually meant by the tweet. It was pretty funny.
And then someone made the edit with him where his arm is gone, but he has the Keyblade.
Yep. Yeah, that was really funny. But yeah, I'd like to publicly apologize. This is I'm sorry I'm using the podcast as my apology video, but
oh my gosh. Bro,
This guy.
that's crazy. I don't care.
But yeah, the other thing that was very cool that I didn't even notice straight away, because I didn't even think to look until I looked to see what missions we'd completed when beating the new stages, but they also just added a bunch of missions for some of the other stages as well, which is very cool. This is something that we've talked about quite a lot in the past. It's something that I wish Dokkan would do more often, which is just adding in these extra missions. So now it gives you a reason to go back and replay the stage, because realistically, unless you want to just try out other units in those stages and stuff like that, you don't really have any real reason to. So there's one, I'm just looking at them now. So stage 4, with at least three joined forces characters. There's stage 7 with exploding rage characters, and then obviously stage 8 and 9 were the ones that came out today, but there's one for entrusted will for stage 8, and then one for battle of fate for stage 9. Now the one thing I will say, because again this is something we've talked about a lot in the past, stuff like this, it would be really cool if they'd release those in like a couple of days maybe. Because we talk about this, I think we talked about it last week too, where we have days like today where they'll bring out like 50 things and then we get nothing for like a week. And these kind of things where they just add in random missions. Like, imagine if they did that in just like the middle of like what we would call a dead week, where it was just like, say, you know, even if it was not necessarily this event, but like the birth of the Shadow Dragons, right? Imagine if they just added a mission for every single one of the stages and that just dropped on a random day in the middle of the week. Very, very easy for them to program those into the game. And then it just gives everybody extra stuff to do. So it's cool that we got those today, but it's cool that we got them in general, but I don't feel like they necessarily had to do all of them today. But there definitely was a lot of content, because I think, Minato, didn't you make a list of like all the stones or something that you could get from just all the stuff that came out today? Because it's not just the new stages, but the fact that all of those stages had those missions and stuff as well. So
you don't
that's
want
interesting.
Too many.
I forgot that's true. You know, that is I found it. That is interesting to think, though. Like, I never really thought about that they could just like drop it midway through the week. And to be honest, I don't know why they don't do that, because that would like promote people logging in so much more. Because the whole thing with like a gacha game, or like, you know, mobile games in general, is that you add like stuff like that, or like Legends Adventures or something, right? Like, you have that so that you keep people logging back into the game, and that would be something that would accomplish that. So I don't know why they don't do that as much. I mean, they have so many categories in the game. Like, it's so easy. There's like what, like 50? I don't even know how many there is at this point. I have not counted in a long time.
Plus, you think about like, even if they don't add them for every single stage, if you think about like last bosses and stuff like that, we've got like there's Omega, there's Broly, there's Metal Cooler Core, there's the Red Zone Cell Max. Now there's the like Zamasu. They could literally just pick a random category out of a hat, and then make that mission for all 5 of those stages, and just drop that like randomly on one day.
Funny, because they did do that for part 1, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think it's something that works really well. Yeah, it works really well with new releases, right? So, like, say for example, we get a new. The first name that came to my head was Goku Black, because obviously that's on the agenda, because we kind of need a new one at this point. But let's say after the worldwide celebration, we get like a new Lord Slug that leads like Power of Wishes and some other extreme category or something. I don't know. And then they literally just add in whatever his leader skill category is, just add in a mission to beat a bunch of those different red zone stages using that category team. But as we've just said, like, don't drop it on day 1, but just drop those missions like sporadically throughout the event. Kind of encourages people, because those missions obviously can be done with the older units, but then it also encourages people, like you said, A, to log in, and then B, to like summon for the new unit so you can run the new version of that team. And then of course for the older players who can make those teams anyway, it just gives you more stuff to do every day. So I definitely think that would be cool. But
the funny thing is that they have been doing that, but then for part 3, they just were like, nah, and they just
I'm gonna do my own thing.
They just dropped everything last night. I don't know.
It's the easiest way to pad
in general too, you know.
Yeah, because it's the easiest way to pad out.
In general, they do that, right? They do drop content and spread it. Maybe not those category mentions as much as we would like.
What I meant. Yeah, just them.
But if you mean the category mentions, but in general, they do usually spread content. I don't know why they didn't just save these missions for like 2 days from now, right? And then also, like, it's like easier for me. I'm like, okay, there's so much I want to do. What do I pick to do first, right?
It's the first world problems of the content creator. It's like, oh god, now I have to do 10 videos today because there's 10 things that have come out.
Exactly. I've uploaded 10 videos today. It's
I never do that anyway. I'll just have more coming out tomorrow.
Bro, I don't know how you do it, Minato. I wish I had the I don't even know what you would call it, stamina, stability, whatever, mental fortitude.
Keep going.
Dude, you gotta get to rank 999. Get that extra stamina.
Are you even at rank 9999?
You're funny.
I said 4 nines. Are you even you're not there yet?
Wait,
me?
what?
No.
Oh my goodness.
Funny enough, I don't know how.
You know what? You're kicked out.
This fraud over here. Yeah, I thought we were all ranked 999. That's sad.
Yeah, I know, because I just never I never went through. Ironic that you say that. What's really funny that you say that is this celebration, since it's 4 times XP right now. I told myself I'd like to get to 999. I think I just never really EXP grinded to try and get it. I was just kind of eh. Well, that's what I'm doing right now.
Good job. You're on the way.
Okay. Yes, redeemed.
Well, what stage are you doing?
31-4.
Yeah,
Okay,
there you go.
good.
Good.
Yeah, I
Good.
was doing 30. I think it's 34, right? I was doing 34 for a long time, and then I got a comment from Mr. DT that was like, "You're doing the wrong stage." I was like, "Bro, I've been playing the stage for months. What do you mean I'm doing the wrong stage?"
Global player. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, sadly for
But,
global,
yeah.
we just have 34, but we'll have area 31 soon, hopefully. But
Mhm.
all
Yeah.
right, so lots of missions added, lots of new events, very cool. But let's get on to something that's not so cool. Something that is featured
Juicy,
in the
baby.
thumbnail of the episode. You may have noticed, and of course, we're going to start talking about new cards, new Easy A's, new Awakenings, all that kind of stuff for today. And of course, that brings us into the first unit of the day. There he is. Look at him in all
Yeah,
his
baby.
majestic glory. There is our boy Int Goku Black with his Easy A. So yeah, that's
I'm so excited.
right. Who wants to start off this eulogy then?
Okay. Have you guys even used
Because
it?
he's DOA.
Because-
Yes, I
don't
recorded
know.
my showcase. I think it went up about an hour and a half ago. But
Okay. I was like,
Listen.
I didn't see a video for him for you. I was
Listen,
like, I gotta take him into a mega now, right? So I took him into a mega, the Zamasu red zone stage, not the new one, the Zamasu and Goku Black one, and then I also took him into the Trunks sort of home stage, right?
Oh,
So-
it was physical at the end.
You guys can go first if you want, and I'm ready to go ahead and
I was going to be Minato going to be
about
the contrarian. Here. Let's
Oh,
see.
he's gonna be the
All right,
runner-up.
so-
Okay.
He sucks. We all knew that. He sucks. We saw his details on paper. It was kind of obvious that he sucked. We saw the calcs. I'm always one of those people, you guys know. I try and be glass half full. Try and be positive about these kind of things. I always say when we see new unit releases on paper and they look a bit underwhelming, it's like, let's wait till we see the numbers and stuff like that. But I mean, it was kind of clear with this guy that no sort of showcase was going to save him. And the biggest problem is, as we've discussed many times, when it comes to extreme enemies, extreme units getting these restrictions for whatever reason, is he's only really designed to be good, and I say good, but he's only really designed to be good against super class enemies. So I decided to break my showcase down into two, because normally when I do my initial showcases, I do one of the longer form, slightly easier red zone stages like Cell or Frieza. But because you want to fight super type enemies, I did the Gamma 1 and 2 stage. And to be fair, like I got, I think 2 turns out of the 3 or 4 he was on in the time it took to beat the event, where he did super 4 times in base, which is obviously really good. And he can get some pretty decent stacks. The only problem is, I think the way that run actually ended was he got all the way up to, I think it was turn 6, but I was on low HP, so he hadn't transformed. But then he got 4 supers on that turn, but was at like, and he was already at like 700k defense at the start of the turn. And then he got 4 super attacks. So it's like 4 greatly raising stacks, and then got super attacked by Gamma 2 and died immediately. So unfortunately, the problem has always been with these raw defense units is you need a ridiculous amount of raw defense to be able to tank super attacks from these big bosses. And so then that brings us to the main issue, which is that you're mostly going to be fighting extreme units in the relevant difficult content. And so I took him into the Frieza event just to see how he would get on. And like, because of him not getting a bunch of additional supers, I think by turn 8, he was only up to like 500k defense, which when you consider, like, you think about an actual difficult event against an extreme boss where you're just not getting to turn 8 in general anyway, then yeah, he just does not work in those scenarios. Now, the one thing I will say, if you wanted to be nice, you know, you gotta layer a compliment in there somewhere, you know. When he transforms into Rose and you build up his passive, I had a turn where he did like 3 super attacks, and once he gets fully built up, his last super attack, I think with support on the rotation, was breaking 10 mil. So he did like 3 supers that were like 8, 9, and 10, which is cool, except for the fact that it was on turn 8 and he only had 500k defense. So unfortunately, it's like that one thing was really cool, but it just does not make up for like everything else, I think. So It just
Yeah.
comes back to something we've discussed before. I made a tweet about it, but it's like, I just don't get, especially in this celebration, why we got so many units that seem to be designed for longer events, and then all of the content they released were all short fights that are really hard from turn one.
Yep.
It's like,
Yep.
why would you release? What it seems like they're just so mismatched. It's like, why would you release units built like this in the celebration where you're going to release a ton of really short, like high intensity, like events? It's just very strange to me. But yeah, overall, very disappointing. I was really excited for his EZA because I think aesthetically the unit is still awesome. I love the card art. I love his super attack animations.
Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, he has just become another one of those units that got an EZA. I did a showcase video, and now I don't know if I'll ever use him again. So unless we get some cool, like, you know, maybe the next big celebration gives us a really long event against a super type unit who is tech.
Global Omega.
It'll be great. But you know, but yeah, so did you get a chance to actually try him out with his EZA, Theo, or?
No, I don't know why they added this event into the game. They put Goku Black's face on it. Just gave me 30 stones, but that was it. There was no battles or nothing. I'm not really sure.
Oh yeah, shout out to 30 stage EZAs, by the way. We all love those.
Yeah, of course. No, honestly, ironically enough, somebody was talking about this, and maybe out of spite, I might just not even EZA this guy, to be honest with you, just because it's so frustrating. Like, the thing is that's so, like, wacky to me is, first of all, in this celebration specifically, right? Like, obviously, this is one of those characters that, like, we needed to be good, right? Like when we were talking about AGL Zamasu, like what was that, like a week or two ago? We were like, yeah, this guy needs to be good to link with Tech Zamasu, which thankfully he was.
Yep.
And I felt like this guy was kind of in a really similar scenario considering the team that he's on, and obviously like we didn't get a new LR Goku Black. So obviously we know we needed another good unit on his team, and the boy fumbled the bag, unfortunately. I made a tweet about this, and this kind of relates back to what Minato was saying about this. Like, it's just so strange to me. Like, I can't wrap my head around it. Like, I try. There's a lot of times where when Dokkan makes like these funny decisions like this, I'm trying to like really think about it from like the perspective of like the devs, or like like who made this decision, and why is it like this? Like, how is this justifiable? But in this case, there is no justification, right? Because it's like, how do they not realize that the unit isn't good, right, before they like release the character? Do they just not test the character? Like, surely they must not.
You would
because
think
I would
so,
think,
but yeah,
right, you would think that they would have like a team of people that is just made to test units, right? Like, that's all they do.
They
Like,
definitely don't.
they definitely
they
don't.
definitely
but they
don't,
should.
right?
Like...
They should. Some dedicated Dokkan Battle players. Yeah.
They're like, yeah, let's calc the math real quick. Seems nice. 580k defense, turn 5, burn easy. You take normals.
Yeah,
Take normals.
it's just like,
I don't know.
Can't even take normals, by the way.
well, yeah, in
most,
some
like,
events, but
The most frustrating thing, I think, too, is that, like, the other thing is that, well, first of all, not only that we went through, we went from one of the best EZAs in the game, Zamasu, to this guy, but the thing that's so frustrating is that now he just does not have a chance to be good ever again. You know what I mean? Like, unless they really do decide to make, like, EZA2, or the EZA, as I always like to call it.
EZA2.
The EZA, if you will.
I like the term RZA.
That's good. That's good. I like that too. Like, I just don't understand how they can be okay with, releasing a character that you're now like never going to use.
Yeah.
Because like you were saying, Ningen, it's like, you do the showcase, you maybe try him out once, and now this guy is going to sit in your box forever. So I don't know. I think that's just like the most frustrating thing.
Yeah.
For me personally, I just wish that they would take it more into consideration. That's why I'm praying that. I know we're going to talk about him a little bit later, but obviously LR Rose's ECA. I'm praying that boy's good, man.
Oh, yeah, we'll be talking about that we talk about that in a moment, but I did want to give Minato his opportunity to weigh in on Goku Black. The one thing I will say first, just to caveat that before we bring our boy in here, is one of the things I saw, like, I know some people try and, you know, I don't know, cope. People will always say that. I don't want to say that because I hate it when people say it to me. But when people like cope for Dokkan, where people are like, the one thing that really annoys me is when people were complaining about how bad he was, and then you see people being like, "Oh, what do you want every single Easy A to be the best unit in the game?" It's like, well, no, not necessarily, but not necessarily,
but my units to be fun.
I want them to be good, but the point should be, as we've kind of already addressed in this segment, right? The point should be, if a unit gets an Easy A in a celebration, they should be good enough to be used in all the new content that came out in that celebration.
Yeah.
So this Goku Black Easy A just makes no sense when you look at the red zone stages and stuff that we got. So very, very strange. But yeah, Minato, we kept you waiting. Take it away. Is he going to come in clutch? Let me get some guesses in the chat. Is Minato going to come in and say that he's actually good? Or let's see what happens. So take it away, my boy.
So he's bad, obviously, right?
Good, yeah, good start. Good start.
But the worst thing about him is not even that he's bad. Is that when he's built up, he's fun. But he's so bad that it's so difficult to get him built up. When I take him into Omega, he actually did okay against Omega.
Okay.
And at the end of the event, you know, turn 11, he ate a super for 580k, which is bad. But, like, he looks so cool. And he's doing, like, all these super attacks. And he's so fun to use because it's, like, so risky. Like, I got, like, I put some dodge on him, like 15 dodge. He dodged and Omega like super spot one. Edge, bro. He cooked. It's, like, risky and fun.
Yeah, bro's out here trying to get those HP restriction active skills.
So, yeah, he ate the super attack for 580k, which is unacceptably bad for a stacker, because I'm sure you guys know, stacking units, the stack defense is not lowered when Omega hits you with the 40% debuff. And he still almost got one shot.
Oh, wow. Okay, well.
Turn 11.
Yes. So, just imagine, though, like, imagine if that Omega fight was exactly the same in every way, except it was a super type enemy.
I mean, even beyond that, man. If the first phase, because Goku Black could actually do some okay damage in the first phase that makes you go faster than it. And another issue with Zamasu, this team, and Goku Black is that you want to move slow with Goku Black.
Yeah, true.
But Zamasu's team is really fast.
Yep.
And then it gets to a situation where meanwhile it's like, I can't even run Ma Jr. with Goku Black on the team, or else it just...
Everyone gets killed too quickly. Fast. Yeah.
So it's like, would you run Ma Jr. or are you going to run the Goku Black, right? On that team? That's what it comes down to. Because especially in the Omega fight, which is the one fight where Goku Black could stack up, Ma Jr. just one turns the phase where you need to stack up before things get actually difficult. Now, what I did see as well is Goku Black is actually could be useful in the S tier Vegito fight. Because if he gets 4 super attacks off and he's debuffing attack on all of them, that could be useful for that fight. Because even though it's not like capacity buffs, getting 4 super attack debuffs on the boss could be like it'll make him like I seen Goku Black able to tank normals after he does that, right? But again, even that's RNG. Like the worst part, as on top of that, like even another thing is that. Even if you have him against a super class enemy, he could just super normal. Yeah. And then it doesn't even matter, right? Yep. It's not like he's guaranteed to be good against a super class enemy. I think people, you know, he could be better on average. He will be better, but I think people are like, oh, like if anyone's saying a super class enemy is going to save him, no, he's still too pathetically weak. He's doing 3-4 most super attack damage turn 1, and then even if he quad supers, his defense doesn't even break 500k. He still can't even take normals, and then all that situations, turn 1 bosses.
Yep.
It just is unfortunate, and everything else you guys said. On the upside, I think his support is kind of cool. 3 key to extreme class and 30%. I do like the fact that they made his transformation turn 4.
Yes.
So that at the very least, what you could do is you could float him off turn 1, and then he comes back with the guaranteed additional, and or if you have him in the second rotation, you could just keep him there if you can't hide him, and then he just transforms hopefully. But it's also stupid he has an HP restriction, and it's like you're gonna take so much damage sometimes. But the Zamasu team, I feel like, is really strong defensively early on in these fights because of Zamasu himself. So you could realistically get past and stay above 60%, especially since there's so many healing units too.
Yeah,
so that's the one good thing. Yeah, it kind of like if you're not running my junior, things will be okay. But I don't know. I just think that he's just so underpowered. That's really it. He's fun, and if you really want to use him and have fun with him, I think you can. I mean, he's so cool aesthetically. You could get away and have him carried by the team, and then he'll be fine. Funny enough, one last thing I want to say. He actually is okay against the Zamasu red zone, not the new one, the 4th stage of the Dismal Future.
Oh, because the last phase is tech, yeah.
The last phase is tech, and then the first phase, like you can put him in a spot where he's like there's like 1 attack or no attacks, and then as long as he's not getting super attack, sure, he'll take like 200k turn 1. He sucks, but you could get away with running him. And because there's just so little attacks that he's not just gonna get one shot unless he eats a super. Which obviously you can't predict that, but most of the time you can kind of like, okay, there's like 3 attacks in the first slot, there's 1 attack in the middle. I wonder where the super is at, but it's probably in the middle. But that's the thing. So I did have a little fun with him when I used him when he's transformed, and like you said, he could do like 10 mil, triple 10 mil attack stats even against extreme bosses near the end of the fight when he's built up, but there's just, you have to jump through a lot of hoops to get him there.
It'd be cool if he was doing that like, on turn 3 or turn 5, but like it's, I mean, honestly, much later and low defense. But
if you gave him guard for like the first 4 turns, then he transforms, and then he has guard on the first transform turn, he's perfectly fine, honestly. Like, it's so easy to fix him, but the thing is that, like we were talking about earlier, the devs and how they view it. In my opinion, and I think, let me know what you guys think. They're stupid because I think they view 50% defense stacking as strong as damage reduction or guard or dodge. Like they view that defensive mechanic as strong as it because of the potential it could have, and they're scared of it. But the issue is that at this point, defense stacking is not good enough unless, maybe if you're stacking 100% defense or turn or something. But raw defense like that is just not enough. Even if you're stacking 50, like if you're stacking 200% defense per turn, like 4 supers with Goku Black, that's not enough. You need, like, if they give this guy like 20-30% reduction, that helps him actually quite a lot, right? So I think, like, what could have been cool, maybe he transformed, he has 50% chance to crit and dodge, and then he has the high chance additional, so it's like all 3 hidden potential systems, you have the 50%, and then like you just kind of risking it with the base one Goku Black. But even that I would just take, right? So when I tell the others talk, bro, what do you mean? It's just okay, whatever, we're done. I
know we both talked for so long before letting you say anything, but here comes.
That's funny. I love that. I love the Dokkan community. Dokkan community is so fun. Anyways, that's all I have to say about him. I think that that's it.
I was about to say, I think that's all I have to say about him. But here's more I have to say about him. So
I was like, I don't know why you said it like that, but you get the point.
But very disappointing. Like we said, it seems like they don't test these units at all, or in any relevant content, which is just very strange. And like you said, it's, if you have to make a unit work by purposely like nerfing the rest of your team to like be worse in the event so that they get a chance to build up, like that's not good, right? Like you can do it and you can still beat events, but like the fact that you have to do stuff like that, because I think the example I realized when you were saying about it, like when I did my showcase against the Gamma 1 and 2 stage, he was on the second turn, and like the Zamasus do so much damage that he basically got to do 1 super and then killed the first phase because he was on the second turn. So he missed out, even against a super class enemy, he missed out on any of those opportunities to actually do additional super attacks. So definitely very disappointing. So
Actually, I remember something. Even in Omega, the first in phase, Zamasu just does so much damage.
Yep.
And like if he's critting, I got to a situation like twice where it's like okay, that's the annoying thing about that phase that he stuns or seals, right? So it's like I could put Goku Black in slot 1, but then he can get stunned or sealed. So what if I put Zamasu in slot 1 and then he gets potentially stunned or sealed and then I get to super the Goku Black? But then, oh no, he doesn't super this time, and then Zamasu kills, and it's like, oh well, I could have gotten an extra stack, right? It's that was annoying for that specific event.
Yeah, unfortunate. R.I.P. in Goku Black. You
Rip the boy.
your super attack animations are still cool, but yeah, I guess you're going.
Yeah, low key. I think I need
shelf.
to do an animation analysis on this boy just to have some kind of
Why
goodness
not?
in
Just
my
for some
heart
closure.
Just some positivity.
something, bro.
All right, so before we move on here quickly, again, just a quick reminder, if you guys have any shout outs or any questions or anything like that you want to be read out and answered at the end of the show, all donations and super chats at any point during the show, we'll keep track of them all and they will all be read out at the end. Obviously, we appreciate any support you guys give to the podcast. So we're going to move on to the potential saving grace that we have after how disappointing this Goku Black EZA was, and that is of course thanks to a good old global shenanigans in the back office or something. Somebody decided to upload one too many files into the data download for global, and we got to see the event teaser for an EZA of LR Rose. So obviously this is a big thing, after no LR Goku Black was announced for part 2, we basically all said, right, we need to get either one or both of the Int Goku Black EZA and the LR Rose EZA. We got the Int Goku Black. Very disappointing. Everybody was quite deflated, especially if you are a Goku Black fan or a fan of the Zamasu team. And then this one ray of light through the clouds from the global data download. But I think I speak for a lot of people when I say expectations are probably not that high at this point. I don't know, but we need this guy. This guy he needs to be good, right? So Theo, I know you're excited. Take us away. This guy, he needs to be good, right? What can they do?
He needs to be good. Well, so I wanted to like tell this story real quick just about the data download because I thought that was so funny. Because I was hanging out with the homies like in between data downloads, and I saw on Twitter that Proton posted the little like teaser, and I was like, what? And I was like, wait, is this fake? But I was like, no, Proton is not the type of person to like make something like this, because like people make like fake EZA little teasers or whatever, but I was like, that is not Proton's prerogative. And so I was messaging in like the group chat that I got with Proton. I'm like, yo, what's the deal? And then I was just like, what am I doing? Why didn't I just look myself? So I was like, did I miss something in JP? No, nothing there. And then I was like, oh, this is from Global. Okay. So it is kind of funny, right? Because obviously it's a Japanese asset that's on Global. If you do follow the assets as closely as I do, obviously a lot of the time what they'll do to prepare for upcoming events and stuff like that is they'll just take the stuff directly from JP and then they'll throw it onto Global. That's why a lot of the time Global will get these giant data downloads with like months worth of content because they're just adding the stuff untranslated. And then when it actually comes out, they just throw in like the all the different languages that we have for Dokkan. Now they add in all those different assets and stuff. So obviously it's kind of funny from the perspective of like JP didn't even have this in the data download and it's a joint celebration. Like I don't know if Global just forgot they were doing a joint celebration. It was like, yeah, let's add it early so we're nice and ready, or they
because that was the only thing there. No details, nothing.
Right, like, nothing. So it's kind of funny, honestly, but obviously, right, this guy is kind of gonna have to be the saving grace for Goku Black in the celebration. I think, it really doesn't help that we have just been, like, beat down with Goku Black in the celebration, right? Like, first, we had no LR Rose that everybody was expecting, right? Which, to be fair, right, that one you could kind of chalk up to people getting their expectations, in the wrong place or too high, whatever. But Then, obviously, on top of that, we had Goku Black, and he was not that great, and he really needed to be. And so now we have the boy to hopefully come in and save the game. Now, the other interesting thing, too, is that this also does kind of give us the implication of a EX part to Worldwide, right? Because obviously the part 3 details did not have this guy in the actual news.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people are kind of thinking that then they're going to do a EX part to the celebration, and this guy will probably be the main thing. Because usually for the EX part, it's like, what, one other thing, and then like an EZA is kind of like the main thing, because obviously it's just supposed to be a little like bonus or something. So that will be interesting to see. I mean, I guess to be fair, it could, yeah. Thank you, Proton. Literally in the chat, my go.
Yeah.
Was also saying that it could also just be week 2 of part 3. That is also definitely a possibility as well.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Personally, I know a lot of people saying EX, and I even mentioned it earlier, but I'm thinking that it's just going to be week 2 of part 3,
Yeah.
right? You know, just because the celebration. I mean, it makes sense that they're still going to drop content next week because the celebration doesn't end until the 5th of October on GP.
Oh my gosh, really?
Some things end on the 28th, which is really weird. Which, you know, maybe could be tied to a
Really?
global maintenance. Yeah, well, Annie's in chat. Annie's talked about it. Some things on global end earlier than on JP, I think.
Yeah.
Which is very funky. It could maybe do with the sync. Well, happens, right? But you know, I don't know if you're done, Dokkan Assets. I do have a few.
Oh, yeah, no, go for it, bro. Floor's all yours, though. You got that.
Okay, so
Let's go.
I actually, funny enough, I have more expectations for this guy Z than the Goku Black, because
Okay.
I already knew Goku Black was a stacker. They were not going to give him guard or reduction or dodge. I was like, in my soul, I was like, they value the 50% stacking, and now I just, like, we know that they just value the 50% stacking. It's like, you know, that's why Tech Trunks wasn't really that great in Goku Black, you know, or he already had 50% stacking. They weren't going to give him like some mega, you know, defensive ability, right? And about the this guy, I think that since he's not like a stacking unit and he's just straight up a turn, you know, he just does what he does. He does have the killing blow aspect, but as long as they don't lock something really important behind that, then he could really just cook, because he's like a unit that's just turn 1, he's at max power. So that'll be really helpful. You know, he does do the instant transmission in his super attack, right? In his 18 key. So I'm thinking, you know, like, you know, think of the STR Goku Gohan that does the, you know, instant transmission in Kamehameha. And some of these other units that do instant transmissions in their super attack, a lot of times they get like some dodge ability after they super. So I'm thinking, what if this Goku Black, it's like 50% or even a 70% chance to dodge after he super attacks. And I think that could be interesting, and that would be a realistic thing even to expect, because they gave like what's his face, Beers and Whis, they gave them a 50% chance to dodge in their passive. So I could easily see something like that. Maybe it could be higher, since if it's only just after super attacking, maybe it's a flat 50% even before he attacks, right? It could be interesting if they give him some sort of like ability where if he gets the enemy under an HP threshold, he could do like an additional super attack that's guaranteed, and then maybe even crit, so that he could just like melt down the damage and then make sure he ensures the final blow. I think there's a lot of things that they could take him to make sure that he's built properly. But again, it really depends on if they care, because if they don't care, guess what? He's gonna not really end up being too hot. But at the end of the day, yeah, all I really want to say is that I do have more expectations for how this guy is going to be ending up than the Goku Black. Especially since now we know that Goku Black is just so bad. I'm just not even sure if he's going to be that bad, because he has like these LR stats, even with just the normal upgrades. But who knows, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they add defense to the, you know, how he raises attack per key, that'll be multiplicative, plus the 50% raise. That'll make his defense explode quite a bit. So that's all I have to say, though.
Yeah, because that's the thing is I showcased him recently, just as one of the many candidates that could get an easy A, just to kind of see how he was looking in current year, and he can actually even still now do some somewhat decent attack stats considering how old he is. So the defense part is definitely the biggest issue. Obviously, we would want him to do more attack, get him updated, but I think he's definitely not he doesn't need a huge amount to be good. One thing that I think they should do is the fact that he gets his final blow mechanic. It's not really a big deal because isn't it 2 key? And that's that's what he gets. But what I think they should do, Minato, you said obviously we don't want them to lock an ability that would make him good behind the finishing blow. But I think what they should do is they should still lock something, or whatever's going to be behind the killing blow should be something really awesome so that you want to get it, but it shouldn't be he's terrible if you don't get it, right? So rather than being guard or dodge or damage reduction or something like that, just make it an extra 30% attack and defense or something, but make him still good enough that even if you don't get that, he's still good, right? And actually, one thing that you mentioned I think would be really cool, because a lot of people, I think, have they ever done a finishing blow unit that is actually good, that it works consistently on? I don't know. So something he could get with an easy A, which is something you mentioned, I think would actually be really good, is imagine if he had something in his passive that said, it could word for word be if the enemy, after the first part of his attacks and the attack and defense and all that stuff, and then it says, and then if the enemy is at 25% or less HP after attacking, performs a guaranteed additional super attack. Because then that will potentially help him to get that finishing blow, especially against some of the weaker enemies, where if they're at 25% or less, him getting another super with a decent easy A to back it up, you could then consistently get those finishing blows. Because the one thing about it that's very interesting, it goes back to what we were saying already about the meta, him releasing in this celebration and the content that they've been releasing. There's no point giving him something 10% attacking and defense with each killing blow up to 30 or something like that, because most of these new stages, they have 2 phases, so he can get 1 killing blow at most, and then the second one would be the end of the event. So they can't give him a very slow building sort of finishing blow thing. That's why, like I said, if hopefully they could find the way to balance it, it should be something really good, but that you don't need to get, otherwise he sucks. Because it's kind of like the STR Rose with his easy A. Even now, I'm not going to say he's super good, but if you can get his finishing blow straight away, he's still kind of runnable. He still gets killed by super attacks, obviously. But it's just the fact that if you don't get it, he sucks. So most of the time you just don't run him, right? So hopefully they find a good balance there. I'm looking forward to he's got great animations as well. The only thing I guess that will be a bit of a downside that we didn't really touch on is his rage mode is obviously an active skill, which means that it can't change, which means it's turn 6 is it 66% or
6
yeah, so it's the HP thing's not necessarily a problem with how hard you can get hit, but the Zamasu team has a lot of healing, as we already said, and then you're gonna get to turn 6 that often. Some events you can, obviously, and then if you can, the rage mechanic is really cool, because just like the giant form, it gives you that whole thing where you cancel out a super attack if it happens during during that turn, because the turn counter gets frozen. He gets extra key to make it easier to get him to get the supers. He's effective against all types. They could quite easily give that mode a nice buff to make it super powerful. Give him the sort of Orange Piccolo treatment, right, where he has a built-in additional chance as well or something.
Could you imagine if he was good as Orange Piccolo, dude? Oh my god!
I mean, that's the thing, right? A new easy A.
Change passive, right? There's not the condition.
Yeah, they can change the transformation, the rage mode passive, but not the condition. So, if you think about it, it's not too far of a stretch to say that a unit getting an easy A, 9 months after Orange Piccolo came out, it's not too much of a stretch to say that his rage mode should be as good as Orange Piccolo, if not better, right? So throwing in that, him being already effective against all types, getting extra key to make it easier for him to super, you throw in the whole thing that's my
camera's frozen again.
All right.
Funny face too.
You look so disappointed. Look at him.
Bro, that should be my reaction when Goku Black's easy A is terrible.
There you go, you're back. What was I saying? I can't remember now. But yeah, just give him like the guaranteed additional attack that has a great chance to become a super or something, and in that rage mode, because then that on top of effective against all types, then yeah, he could potentially be looking very good. So that's the thing. I don't want to get my hopes up after everything else that's happened so far, but man, I really want him to be good.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that,
too.
you touched on it, the final blow. I'm thinking they should just make that one final blow instead of just 3, right? Just make it one final blow, you get 6 key, and that's it. I don't even care about getting anything else. It's like key, because key is a thing that's useful for him.
Yep, because it buffs his stats as well, doesn't it? So
yeah, right. He wants to be a higher key, so give him like 3 key start of turn, or even to like extreme class ally support. The Zamasu team is pretty good with key overall, but then you know it can get from like maybe sometimes we'll hit the 24 key to you'll always hit the 24 key, which will in turn let him do more damage.
Yep.
So it's like he doesn't necessarily even need more stats if his like base form is built good, but the key consistency will be a very helpful thing for how this guy operates. So that's why I don't really think that they need to give him like give him crits on the final blow or anything like that, because I don't want something that powerful locked behind it, and just make it a 1/6 key thing, especially if you get that early on. That could be very, very effective.
yeah, definitely. So yeah, fingers crossed he's going to be good. As we discussed at the beginning of this part, we only know that it exists. We don't know what it's going to look like, what the weakness category will be, all that stuff, but we will of course find out in due time. Who knows, maybe we'll know by next week, and then we can talk about him in more detail on episode 5. But for now, we just have to cross our fingers and hope that we get at least one peak Goku Black offering in this celebration. So
if it ends on the 5th, then surely I would think by next week we would know, right?
I think
if it
so,
ends
yeah.
on the 28th,
Because
I would assume
I would think
the global maintenance is on the
touching on
28th, so
That's
I wouldn't be
true.
surprised
Global
if he
maintenance
drops
could be,
on like the 29th, right? So
touching on that, that's funny because Annie did confirm that the 4 times EXP and then something else ends on the 29th on global, while JP they end on the 5th, right? The stamina and then the rank EXP, like the storing amount or the extra amount for that, they end early, and that's after the global data download or maintenance that's going on. So it is interesting. Like, are they gonna just drop like a different celebration on global next week whilst JP is like still in the worldwide?
I don't know.
Or maybe is it gonna be like an actual like EX part? I don't think it's gonna be EX. But that'll be interesting. So keep in mind for that. Maybe we'll see like Turles. It just drops next week in global, and then GP is like only the Rose EZA.
yeah, that could be interesting.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, because like we're also obviously we discussed it a lot when it originally was announced, but obviously with the version sync, obviously we're kind of in the dark as to how they're going to handle things going forward. Are they just going to like give JP a dead period, or are we going to get a new Dokkan event, or how are they going to handle that? We'll have to see.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do. The thing is with the sync as well is it's like now is the time where we really don't know, right? As the worldwide celebration is going to kind of draw to a close, it's like what is actually going to happen next for global. So I could definitely see with that gap, with the difference between JP, maybe we could start to see some stuff starting to come out for global, because we discussed a couple of different ways they could do it before, right? Like putting Trunks and Turles on one banner, or doing like a dual Dokkan Fest in one celebration or something like that. But yeah, just dropping the stuff earlier, because I think when we first talked about it on the episode where it was announced, like I think someone said, imagine if they just reduced the gap between every single celebration the way they were planned out last year, but they just reduced the gap by like a week or 2. And it's just the exact same like thing, and they rush through to the end. I don't know, because obviously there's the One Piece treasure cruise method where just everything drops in one go.
They just said, "Screw it, bro."
Which I think that's probably the worst outcome for the players, unless they also drop like a ton of free stones on top of it. But it would definitely be interesting to see.
It'd be funny because like it'd be like like how would they handle the sales for like the banners? Like if it's like one banner 1 week and then one banner the next week, it's like just 1 week long sales, and then it's like, or it's like 2 week long like mega sales, right?
Could you
Yeah, I feel like they
imagine
would just
the
do. Yeah, imagine they just like
Dragonstone
double
sale
up as well.
celebration?
Like they just
Yeah, they
double
could
up
just
the
double
sales,
up
right?
the
Because you know the
sales.
filler celebrations, as we would call them, usually have like it's like the two 32 stone packs and then like 491 stone packs or something are the sale ones. They could just like double those and then throw in some extra, like they could do like a one-time special one for the sync, right, where it's like 100 stones for like, you know, $20 or something like, I don't know, you know, just like a one-time thing, and then just have that be all the sales for that chunk that is like 2 banners. If they were going to do drop everything at once, then I think it would need to be a little bit more than that, as well as some free ones, like we said. But obviously we'll have to wait and see. So hopefully more news on that, and potentially Goku Black coming soon, hopefully by the next episode. So we are now going to move on to the section of the podcast I know some of you guys love, which is of course the trash takes segment. So this is where we take in a hot take from the community, and we give it a bit of discussion, see what we think, whether we agree, whether we disagree. I'll do the same thing I did last time, because I think that was quite fun as well, where I will put a poll in the chat whether you guys think it's a W take or an L take, and we will go ahead and discuss it here. So as I always say before we bring this up, obviously this is supposed to be just a little bit of fun. All the people submitted these takes, you know, so they could be a part of the show. We obviously don't encourage anyone like, you know, bullying them or any of that stuff. We're just here to have a laugh about these funny things, and it's not that serious. So jumping over to the take, we have this take from Nawaf over on Twitter. There's an interesting one. The Z Duo are a lot better than people think and are still good against dismal future Red Zone. So I thought this was kind of interesting, because I almost feel like it's split into 2 parts, that you might maybe agree with one and not the other, because it's a lot better than people think. But then we also have and are still good against dismal future Red Zone. So I'm not sure what everyone's going to think about that. So whilst I
am
okay, wait. So I did my mic there for a second. I'm going to set up the poll in the chat. While I do that, Minato, you can take it away.
Minato,
what do you think about this take?
All right, so I love this unit. This is my like top 3 unit release of this year. I had so much fun with them. I wanted the Super Spirit Bomb for such a long time. So I'm like a big DBZ duo defender. But I would say there are some valid points here. I do think that people think that they're worse than they actually are. And I think some part of that is that Global doesn't have Omega. They're actually a really good unit in the Omega Shenron fight, because you could just nuke the final phase, and they're one of the better units in Omega, I would say. You could say like, oh, like if you're making like a top 10 like best units for Omega Shenron tier list, like you could put this guy even in like the top 5. Like they're, especially when you pair him with like Bulma and everything, and you like really use their like Spirit Bomb mechanic, like abuse it. They could be really, really good there. Now, Dismal Future Red Zone is interesting, because if you go back 2 weeks ago, I would say no. Like, flat out no. But the funny thing is that the last 2 stages, which are the hardest stages, are in type in the first phase. So, you could actually run them pretty safely in those fights. Because if you're able to get the 4 attacks off, which, you know, you could pretty easily get 4 attacks off, like, turn 1 with them if you get the 24 key. You could get the standby active, and then in the final phase they have the guaranteed guard with the damage reduction, and then you could just throw the Spirit Bomb. So I actually think they are pretty good options that people aren't really talking about for the last 2 phases. The AoE and the Fusions of Omatsu event could hurt them for sure, because they won't be able to stack up.
Yeah.
But they're still type advantage. So I think that they are pretty useful options for those last 2 phases specifically. But if we're going to talk about, like, you know, the Rose Goku Black stage or First Form Cell, they're absolutely just not good there, right? Especially the Rose fight is STR, and then the Cell just hits too hard for them turn 1. But yeah, that's my personal opinion. I mean,
Okay.
even in like the Rose fight, if you hide them, maybe the in phase could be good for them, but nah, not really. So I don't know. So I can see where the viewpoint is. So I kind of like half agree.
Okay. So Theo, what are your thoughts here? I just want to call out. I love the comment from Bringer Down in the chat. Bro cooked in the first half, then burned it in the second half.
Uh, I would disagree.
That's
with Bring It
funny.
Down.
I mean, I don't know. Ironically enough, I pretty much agree with everything that Minato said, to be honest with you. I mean, I think it's just like, definitely they are a lot better than people say. I don't know, like, what happened. I feel like I've seen, since like the 8th anniversary until now, I feel like I've seen a lot of 8th anniversary unit slander, a lot between like these guys and even the GT duo, which is really surprising to me, but definitely like these guys a lot more so. I think that they're definitely a lot better than people give them credit for. I mean, they're, the anniversary LR from this year, for Pete's sake. But yeah, I pretty much agree with Minato. I think it's just like situational. It's like, it just depends on the event that you use them in. They're good for certain content and they're, not the greatest for other content. But
Yep.
I mean, that's like basically every unit in the game, So I don't know. I think they're just fine.
I think there's just a mindset people where it's like not top 10 trash.
Oh,
right?
Yeah,
dude, yeah.
well,
Yeah,
that's a
we know
big
that's true.
factor, right?
See, that's what's so unfortunate is that like that's kind of something that I feel like it's perpetuated, especially on the like social media side of Dokkan Battle. Where it's basically like people feel if a unit isn't top 10, then it's like, well, then they're bad. But at the
Yep.
same time, like I don't even know if all the units in the top 10 you could run on the same team, so it's not like you're gonna be running, like the top 10 every time anyway. I don't know. I just think it's a little bit of a silly mentality to have. Excuse me. Like
Exactly.
not any unit can be good, but a lot of units can be good as long as you know how to use them and what situation you're using them in.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I thought this was an interesting one because I think the reason why I picked this one is I had the same instant reaction that I think a lot of people had when they see it, which I thought the first part was very true. I think people definitely underrate these guys sometimes. But then when I saw the second part, I was like, I don't know about that one, Chief. But then, after thinking about it a little bit more and, hearing Minato's points of view on it, I think he's not far off, right? Like, there are definitely some of the stages in the new red zone where they will get destroyed. But some of the new stages, they definitely can be, like, usable to the point where if you get them going, they can be pretty good. Because remember, most people's biggest issue with them is because of the way they're designed. It's another unit that stacks, but then relies on raw defense. So if they take a super attack early on, they just get killed in some of these events. But we kind of come back to this point quite a lot, where there's a lot of units in the game that fit that same like niche. Well, it's not even a niche if it's so big, right? But I don't know the right word for it. They fit that categorization, right? The unit can be insanely good, like goes crazy, does loads of damage, really good defensively after they get maybe even just a little bit of build up. But if they're taking a super on like the first or second turn, especially if it's like type neutral or type disadvantage, then they just die. And there's lots of units that applies to. Especially again, we're talking about like in a sort of no item scenario. Goes back to the discussion we had on the last episode, where in some of these harder stages, maybe the way to go is to use at least one item early on to kind of protect these units. Because the thing about these guys that I think people overlook is most people just complain about their early turn performance because they're complaining about their like quote unquote base form. But then once you get the standby out, like not only are they then very good defensively, but then obviously the Spirit Bomb has the potential to do an insane amount of damage, especially with some of the units you can put on their team. Like you can run them under God Goku's 200% leader skill, who's an orb changer. They're obviously on Power of Wishes, so you can have Bulma. You can kind of line it up with her active skill turn and stuff like that. So you can really charge it up to the max and do a ton of damage with the Spirit Bomb, which I think is interesting.
So, one thing that's funny too is you could use Orange Piccolo to cheat. So what you could do is you could grab the orbs with the first two characters, and then have Orange Piccolo slot 3, go Giant, and then after the Giant farmer resets the turn, but you still keep those orbs you collected.
Exactly.
I never
it's
thought
basically
about
you get
that.
Yeah,
two extra
see?
characters to
It's
charge,
all about
right?
the techers. You got to use that
So, like-
advanced techniques.
Yeah,
secret
that's
strategies
why,
passed down in the hidden scrolls, you see.
yeah, that's why Power of Wishes is so good in the Omega fight, because you have Bulma and Piccolo, so you could literally use Bulma's active skill like after that, and then you're getting a whole field of key spheres on top of 2 extra characters grabbing key spheres with her orb changing. It gets pretty good.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think it's a very interesting take. I think it fits the bill for what we like to see on these. We don't, as we said already, we don't just try and pick out one that like we're all going to disagree with. Although I'm sure we'll get one of those eventually, just because it'll be fun. But it is nice to see the differences of opinion on these kind of things, and I think it gives us the opportunity to discuss the unit again a bit more, because, like we kind of all said, we see a lot of people downplaying these guys, but they definitely can be very good. And a lot of units this celebration have fallen into that same sort of category. If we do start getting some longer form content again, these guys obviously gonna cook. And like Minato said, for global, we don't have Omega yet, so when he comes out, these guys are potentially by that point. I mean, I guess again, going back to the sync stuff, we don't know what's going to happen between now and when global gets the Tanabata stuff, but we'll potentially have gotten more buffs for teams that you can run them on, or new teams for them to be run on, depending on the timing of the Tanabata stuff. If we ignore the sync and we go by the usual schedule, global gets the Tanabata stuff after the Heroes celebration. So who knows, maybe this year we don't get super restricted units and we get some like new Super Saiyan 3s or something like that make a really good team with these guys. Who knows?
Well, actually, these guys have prepared for battle and now over the last show.
Well, okay. Well, you know.
Actually,
Damn, that is true.
Again. You don't know your Dokkan packs? Like
Plus, they would. Well, yeah, I didn't think they had over in a flash. But,
category.
yeah, all right. I just meant, shut up. They could be Power Beyond Super Saiyan. All right, calm down. But let me cope. All right, Heroes. I can't wait for it. It goes back to what we were saying, right? Like units. That is that whole
blinding, dude.
I'm gonna get exactly. I'm gonna go off. I'm gonna get on my hero soapbox because it goes back to that whole if units aren't top 10, they're trash. That's why how everyone this is the Heroes units, but then
we're gonna be eaten.
Your boy comes out and no items every single event in the game with them anyway. So
My go.
Hey, all the content that came out at the same time as them, all the content that came out a month after them, the Red Ribbon Army Red Zone. That's why it annoys me. It is my personal crusade, but it annoys me when people say they're dead by like the end of the month they come out in. It's like, well, the Red Ribbon Army Red Zone came out over a full month after them, and I still beat every stage no items with that team. So
see, the saddest thing is that it's probably going to end this year, because I think the Heroes units, like, I mean, it would be so funny if they suck. Like,
no, it wouldn't.
It would be really funny. It would be really, really funny.
It would not be funny.
It would be very sad. Funny in a sad way, because I know there's so many people that are like, I love Heroes.
Me.
But then it's me. Also...
It's me. Of course I know him. He's me.
There's two sides where it's like, some people really do overtrash them. I feel like some people kind of are like, well, actually, Heroes is a top something team in the game.
Does anyone really say that though? Like,
no, I'm just making up.
Bro, I'm a Heroes coper. I love Heroes, bro. Even I can tell you it ain't the best team in the game. There's no way.
For Heroes, so that's why it'd be just a little funny, but also they're really cool characters. So I would love them to still be good. That'd be awesome.
Exactly. I can't wait until you trust me, guys, in the chat, and obviously you two as well. When we get to that episode in November that's all about Heroes, me and Theo, we're gonna be eating good, even if they're not good. We're gonna cope for them anyway, right? Because it's
I'm gonna be here to lay. If they're bad, I'll be here to lay down the law. We're gonna, we'll try to get another Heroes fan on for the episode. What about that? But
that would be
it's just gonna be 3 copers, and then the god of the game right here. 3
copers. The Coper gate is coming through, baby.
But yeah, hopefully
it would be Heroes of Cope or something. I don't know.
But yeah, hopefully they'll be good.
Copers.
I don't want to go off on too much of a Heroes tangent, because I know me and Theo, we could talk about them all day long. But yeah, so the Z Duo, I think the general consensus, at least for the panel here, is that they are definitely better than a lot of people seem to make out. They certainly can be good against certain stages in the Dismal Future Red Zone. Not all of them, and obviously there's a little bit of RNG involved even in the stages where they can be good. But you know, as we said, that applies to a lot of units as well. So they definitely can still make it work. So I'll just take a look at the poll here as we wrap up the segment. Shout out to everybody who did vote. According to the chat, so you guys, if you are watching the pre-recorded version, or if you're listening to this on Spotify, if you want to be involved in this kind of stuff when it happens, make sure you come and check out the episodes live, and you too can be involved in the fun here live on the show. But the overall consensus from the studio audience is 71% of the votes said that this was a W take. So there you go. Congratulations to the Z Duo. They escaped the fraud allegations for this episode, I guess.
Let's go!
So yeah, that is it for the trash takes segment of the show, which does bring us into our conclusion here. We did get a super chat from our boy Daniel Rodriguez, so shout out to you for the $2. He says, only agenda, heroes agenda. You know, that's right. That November episode is going to be absolutely popping.
I'm here for that Dragon Ball Saga agenda. I don't know what y'all mean. I need that New Year's Demon King Piccolo Kid Goku Dokkan Festian in December cooking.
I mean,
bro, for that Heroes episode, I might have to whip out the Gohan cosplay or something, bro. I don't know.
Yes.
That would actually be fun. Bro. You know, we should do something stupid like that for the Halloween episode when it comes around. We should talk about that.
True.
That's what we're doing. I'll whip out the Gohan shoulder pads. I won't be able to move for the whole episode, but it'll be fine.
We'll cook.
Oh yeah.
I know exactly what I'm gonna do for that episode now.
Okay. Is it Future Yajirobe?
No, it's not Future
Where's
Yajirobe.
Tune in chat?
Oh my goodness, I didn't even think about that. Maybe that'll be a better idea, but I had my other idea. I'm not even gonna say it.
Yeah, keep it a secret.
Yeah, keep it a surprise.
I think my one is people like loads because obviously he's one of my favorite characters. Not even really. It just kind of became a meme on my channel. But one of my favorite characters, as you guys know, is Super 17. So I might have to bust out a Super 17 cosplay at some point. But the only problem is, I was going to say I'd have to be masked Super 17 because he doesn't have a beard and I'm not shaving. So. But yeah, so there you go. That is going to be it for today's episode 4 of the Slot 1 Super Podcast. We are now officially in part 3 of the worldwide celebration. As we've already said, by next week's episode, hopefully we should have the information for the LR Rose EZA, potentially even have him in the game, along with any other stuff that is going to potentially be dropping with him. I know we didn't actually really mention it at all, but we do have an upcoming chain battle as well with the Goku Black and Omatsu, everyone's favorite game mode. So
it's injury, bro. When I saw that card art, I was like, bro.
I need. Did Misaka post the chart yet? Because I'm gonna go crazy in that chain battle. We're gonna be gaming. We're gonna be cooking. I love saving SSRs for chain battle now. I don't know. It's just so fun. In fact, I'm gonna check right now. Did Misaka make a tweet about it?
Don't see it.
No.
No,
but
Misaka, where are you?
But yeah, so that is going to be it from us for this week. If you did come into the show at any point after the beginning, as the going forward process for these episodes is once the stream is over, the VOD will go down. You can still access it with the original link, but then tomorrow at the same time that the podcast is scheduled to start, there will be the upload of the recorded version on YouTube as well as the Spotify version. So make sure you keep an eye out on our Twitter. We have a Slot 1 Super Podcast Twitter account. I'm sure someone can post the link in the chat. So keep an eye out on that. Follow us if you don't already. Hey, shout out to Raudo-kun in the chat. He's already posted it there.
Thank you.
Go. So make sure you follow us over there. We'll keep posting information. And I wanted to leave you guys actually with a little bit of a hint. I might make a tweet about it as well because it's something we kind of talked about. We'll see if you guys can figure out any keen detectives among you who have been following the Twitter account. You may notice that we have been doing something very specific with the account each week. And I want to see if any of you guys know what it is. So if you know, as we are wrapping up the show now, probably won't have time to put it in the chat unless somebody is able to guess it straight away. But if you're watching the recorded version, let us know. If you're listening to it on Spotify, let us know over on the Twitter page. I will make a tweet for it. But yeah, if anyone notices, that would be kind of cool because we'll continue to do it. So somebody will notice it, I'm sure. But yes, that is going to be it for this episode. Shout outs to Minato and Theo, my co-hosts. I, of course, have been the Masked Ningen. Shout out to all of you guys for coming out to the show, and we will see you same time next week. So that is going to be it from us, and peace out.
Bye.
Bye bye.